Hi everyone, I'm Nigel Gordyke, co-organiser of the Wilmot Terry Fox Run. I'm delighted to be joined today by Rhonda Risebrough, International Director of the Terry Fox Foundation. Hi Rhonda, how are you doing?
I'm great, Nigel. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background and what your role is at the foundation?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the international director. So I look after all of the runs and events outside of Canada.
Yeah, because not many people, I don't think, are aware that there are runs outside Canada. How many countries have Terry Fox runs?
Yeah, the international program it's a really integral part of the story of Terry Fox, because we've actually had runs unofficially from the beginning, but really from the 90s. So we're in about 35 to 40 countries right now. So it's we have over 100 events. So we have numerous events in like China and India, Brazil, places like that. So it's not just one event per country.
Hmm. So how much money, do you know how much money is raised outside of Canada?
Yeah, so the international program is usually about $1.5 million dollars raised. So, which is pretty significant, and significant especially in some of these countries. So obviously they don't have the same socioeconomic environment that we do in North America.
So which country outside of Canada has the highest participation?
You should guess that question, because I don't think you would get it.
Give me a clue. Give me something to work with.
Starts with a V.
V? Venezuela?
Yeah. No.
No?
Vietnam.
Are you kidding?
Yes. Yeah. It surprises a lot of people. Vietnam has 20,000 people come out to their run. It's
Wow.
truly incredible, and the pictures are amazing because it's just humanity for as far as you can see. Right? It's amazing.
Are there local cultural adaptations you make to events to like accommodate the different countries?
Yeah, I mean, the Terry Fox runs are consistent, right? And how the runs are organized and Terry's guiding principles. So none of that changes. You know, what affects international runs probably more than anything is sort of local restrictions or permissions that are necessary to do fundraising in some countries. It's very difficult in some countries to actually do fundraising, to have charity status. So we run into a lot of sort of more, I would say, legal administrative differences outside of Canada than we do obviously here. But we're more affected by natural disasters and, you know, civil, like politics. It's things that we don't really think about with our Canadian runs, right? Although we do sometimes have bad weather in Canada, but we don't have usually typhoons that'll, you know, wipe out. We had an event in the Caribbean that just got canceled and things like that. So it's never a dull moment on the international front.
So the money that is raised for international runs, does that money stay in those countries, or does it come into like a central pot for the foundation in Canada?
It's a little bit of both. We do have a lot of, especially a lot of our international schools will just send their money back to Canada, or they'll raise it online through our website. But the vast majority, about 85% of what we raise actually stays, and that's not 85% across the board, but 85% of the total that's raised, that money actually does stay in those countries. So places like India, Vietnam, Brazil, we fund research in probably about 20 countries right now. So it's quite complicated in terms of what's necessary for them to hold those funds. We call them retained funds. So the research is vetted through our Terry Fox Research Institute. So they are invited to apply. Researchers are invited to apply for projects. And so it goes through quite an extensive process in terms of tracking those funds, approving the research, or not approving the research in some cases, or recommending changes to proposals. But it's really interesting because we basically created a cancer research program in the UAE that did not exist before Terry Fox funds. We just started funding a pediatric project in Vietnam that would not have happened without Terry Fox funds. So it's very worthwhile to see where the dollars are spent.
That's very cool. Also, Terry is such an iconic Canadian figure. How are people in different countries connecting with the story of Terry Fox?
Yeah, it's that's probably one of the most beautiful things about my job, is that I get to see how Terry's story, he's truly a timeless hero. We know that 40 years on, but he's also an international hero, and his story is a human story. So it impacts everyone who hears it around the world, but it's really incredible to see how our organizers, many of whom are Canadians or expats, but not all are, how they embrace the story and how they pass it on to their students or their families or their communities. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because I know I've spoken with the new run organizer in London, England, and
Yeah.
he's a Canadian expat. So he's saying there's so many other Canadian expats over there, should be less of a challenge for him to make that sort of connection, because obviously there's people there who already know about Terry.
Yeah, exactly. And in some cases, it's, you know, the awareness is very is strong, and then in other places it's almost non-existent. So it's wonderful to have these kind of ambassadors all around the world, and as well the Canadian embassies and consulates have been involved with us really from the beginning, in terms of they used to organize events. They don't so much organize events anymore, but they definitely help us promote events, and they're connected to the Canadians in their countries and those. So it's, you know, it's wonderful. It's a great relationship. And Canadian Forces as well. We have a lot of Canadian Forces events around the world. So that's another long-standing tradition.
That's cool. Are there any special plans to commemorate the 40th anniversary internationally?
Yes. Well, as you know, we're going virtual in Canada. So that's also the case in some of our international runs. We do think that some of our international runs will be able to do physical runs, or they have confidence that they will be able to do physical runs. But the interesting thing about the pandemic, because it's global and because we've switched to this virtual model, is that it actually opens up the world to us, because we're not restricted to geographic areas that have existing runs. So for example, the run in the UK it's a virtual run for anyone in the UK. So it's not limited to just London or just a specific, you know, physical site. So what we've done is we've created the World Terry Fox Run, which is a world virtual Terry Fox Run on September 20th, so that Canadians and friends around the world can join us and take part on the same day.
Oh, is it usually on the same day? I thought it was on a different day, but I know because it's virtual now, you can do that. But
yeah, the physical Terry Fox, the traditional Terry Fox runs around the world, it's interesting because a lot of them want to align with the Canadian runs, but the largest ones do not. And again, it's affected by, you know, how hot it is. At one time of September is not a good time for some countries. And so our international events are spread out throughout the year, which is good. My workload gets a little spread out, unlike my Canadian colleagues who have that huge crunch of September. But we do have a number of September events. But because of the anniversary this year and because of the virtual model, Singapore, for example, has switched from, they had a spring event planned, which obviously was postponed because of COVID. So they've decided to do a virtual run on September 20th. So people are kind of aligning, I think, because of the anniversary.
So how and where will you be taking part this year?
Virtually, I had actually planned, if it was a physical run, I had planned to sign up for Port Coquitlam for Terry's hometown run, because I haven't been to that. I was 14 years in Alberta. This is my 3rd year in BC, and I try to go to a different run every year. So I'm signed up to the Port Coquitlam run, but I guess I could join from anywhere in the world.
Rhonda, thank you so much for chatting with us today. This is absolutely amazing to find out how much the story of Terry is spreading around the world. I really do appreciate you chatting with us.
Thank you so much, Nigel. It's such a great opportunity. And I just ask everyone, just go to the website, but check out the international part of the website. So you'll find all the information on the international tab.